Yeah, because I was just going to say, there's definitely, I've seen certain printers provide options that are close to or similar to newsprint, but they have archival qualities in them. So, but they're, funny enough, they're more expensive, obviously. So, but that option is there for some places.
Yeah, I mean, we've just been through like a couple decades of like the best kind of paper for printers that have been available has been like either smooth or coated papers.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of what's around in terms of the American paper market, because that's like where a majority of the American printing is happening, is on that type of paper.
Sure, yeah.
But I think trends shift, and like now that like indigo printers are coming to the United States more, there's a lot more inkjet type printers, even at like book printing shops and larger shops like that. The allure of the uncoated and the toothier stocks, I think those are going to come back into play, because
I hope so.
I think digital printers are starting to have more options. But I can say, like, even the shop I'm working at right now, like, we're using toner-based digital printing. So, like, toner relies on smooth paper. The smoother the paper, the better the result. And, like, if you start printing on, like, paper that's really coarse, like, your images start to be blurry, or, like, the toner starts to rub off. And, like, there's just, like, a lot of problems with it. But as people shift over to the inkjet machines, the indigo printers, that kind of stuff, where you're relying on the ink to soak into the paper as opposed to sit on top, like, I think you'll see a lot more of those papers come back around. So
right.
Well, no, my understanding between the difference of like laser toner base and inkjet is like a spray, whereas laser is almost like burned or engraved into the paper. Is that not engraved? I don't know if that's the word, but what's the main difference between the two?
Well, typically speaking, like toner-based printing, what it is, it's a powder that is placed onto the paper using static electricity.
Okay.
And then like a hot drum presses that toner and melts it on top of the stock. So that means like instead of being soaked into the paper like traditional ink, it's just lying directly on top. So like it can scratch really easily. And if there's a lot of coverage of ink, like you're not going to get the texture of the paper, you're going to get the texture of the toner.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so those are like the big, things that like kind of push back toner-based printing. Whereas inkjet printing is more of, it's putting down, small dots of liquid ink that lie on top of the paper and get soaked into the paper. So that also has its limitations, but at the same time, like it does offer a lot more options in terms of like what kinds of papers you can print on and like what kind of effects you can get with it. But that's still like a developing, like, if you go over to like China or whatever, like a lot of those, they're probably not even using toner-based printers anymore. But here in the United States, like we're so far behind that we're still in toner land. And, I think, some toner-based printers look better than others, but like I still haven't been impressed by like a full color toner-based printer yet. Like at least for what I'm looking for in terms of printing, like I haven't seen it. Although like the indigo ones, these inkjet ones, like they're looking really good, and I've definitely been tricked a couple times already. So it's exciting. I think, in another decade, another 10 years or so, you're going to see some really cool like full color printing become really affordable here in the States.
So you mentioned, China and the printing technique there. So a lot of like comic publishers here in America, Fantagraphics, obviously, they send their books over there to get printed. Is that because of the cost, or is it because of the printing method? Because their books look like shit recently, so I'm kind of curious to what the reason is.
It's both. I think the standard like line that people say is like, oh, you get something overseas and the quality is shoddy. It's like that's not the case anymore. Like the American manufacturing, system is so dilapidated. Like we're getting our asses handed to us by like almost any other country that's doing manufacturing. So like the quality in China is like actually really great, and the pricing is really great too. So like how do you compete with that, and like
right,
the answer is like, well, you don't compete with it, you just wait out the impending like environmental collapse that's right around the corner. But like we gotta get ready for that. Like that's all of manufacturing right now. It's like, and like you're seeing it here already, just with the pandemic, it's really disrupted supply chains, and like a part of that is like the United States can't produce shit. Like they suck at it so bad, and it's because like it's just been something that's been completely dilapidated over the past 40 years. It's just like any other infrastructure in our country, it's just rotted to shit, and like people just can't keep up with the demand of work that's coming in. We don't have the infrastructure to do it, we don't have the equipment to do it, and we don't have like the workforce to do it. And by workforce, I mean we don't want to pay people to do it.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's so many problems with like American manufacturing right now, and it's like it's all self-inflicted by like terrible fucking capitalists. But yeah, it's a different I could go on. Sorry.
Go off, King.